Will everyone please rise as I invite Firefighter William Arcee to sing the National Anthem. Yeah.
Detail. Detail, hand salute.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, sing does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Ready, two.
Please remain standing for the invocation by FDNY Chaplain Father Christopher Keenan.
Detail, uncover.
Lord, our Creator, we gather with sadness and loss in our hearts as we always remember and never forget our husband, father, son, brother, and dear friend, Deputy Chief Michael Fahy. We ask you to continue to bring your light to the heaviness of our hearts. As we honor here Michael's supreme sacrifice, we continue to carry in our hearts in prayer his beautiful wife, Fiona, and both their parents, Tom and Mary and Pat and Nora, with their beloved children, Michael and Anna and Cormac, and all their families and friends who have been with them, stood with them these 2 years. Michael and Fiona have witnessed to all of us in their relationship together in their sacrament of marriage that our lives are not for our own sake, they're for the sake of others. May we honor them as a couple by choosing to move from the minimum of what's required of us to be the maximum of what each one of us is capable of being. So we thank you, Lord, our Creator, for bringing life to the heaviness of our hearts by bringing us together as a fire department family today. We know that you have given to each of us right faith, certain hope, and perfect charity. And may each of us grow through our insight and wisdom to be, as Michael witnessed to us, being the best of who he could be with his Fiona and children and the department. Amen.
Detail, recover.
Everyone, please be seated.
Detail at ease.
Good morning. My name is Battalion Chief Brian Fink. I'm the commanding officer of the 19th Battalion, and I want to thank everyone for coming here today for our plaque dedication, honoring our fallen member, Deputy Chief Michael J. Fahy, lost to us on September 27th, 2016. I would now like to introduce the members of the dais. New York City Mayor Bill Deblasio. Fire Commissioner Daniel Nigro. Chief of the Department James Leonard. First Deputy Commissioner Laura Cavanaugh. If you could just hold your applause until I finish announcing the remainder of the members on the dais. Bronx Borough Commander Joseph Woznicka. Assistant Chief of Operations Anthony DeVita. Assistant Chief of Fire Prevention Thomas McCavanaugh. Chief of Training Thomas Richardson. Manhattan Borough Commander Roger Sakowicz. Brooklyn Borough Commander Wayne Cartwright. Chief Fire Marshal Thomas Kane. Assistant Chief Jack Hodgins. Assistant Chief of VMS Operations Fred Villani. Chief of Counterterrorism and Preparedness Tom Correo. Chief of Special Operations John Esposito. Deputy Manhattan Borough Commander Mike Gallup. Deputy Assistant Chief of Operations Richard Blattis. Deputy Assistant Chief of Operations Christopher Boyle. Deputy Assistant Chief of Fire Prevention Joseph Jordan. Deputy Assistant Chief of Fire Prevention John Buckite. Division 7 Commander Joseph Cicente. Captain of Engine 75 Christopher Coppola. Captain of Ladder 33 James Skarkas. UFA Vice President Leroy McGinnis. President of the Uniformed Fire Officers Association Jake Lamunda. UFA Bronx Trustee William Greco. FDNY Chaplain Father Christopher Keenan. We would also like to give a warm welcome to New York City Council member Fernando Cabrera, Assembly member Victor Pichardo, Inspector Wilson Arambolis from the 4-6 Precinct, and Chief Tom Fitzpatrick from the Yonkers Fire Department. We are especially honored to have the family of Deputy Chief Michael J. Fahy here today. His wife, Fiona, his daughter, Anna, his sons, Michael and Cormac, his mother, Mary, his father, retired Battalion Chief Thomas Fahy, his sister, Mary Shepherdson, and his brother, Thomas. This is as well as a number of other family members and close personal friends. Welcome to you all. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge and to thank all of the officers and firefighters of Engine 75 and Ladder 33 for all of the hard work in constructing this memorial wall to honor our fallen brothers. Guys, thank you. I would also like to acknowledge and thank Marilyn Halpin for her very generous donation which helped fund the building of the wall. Thank you, Marilyn. I'm honored to introduce our first speaker, Mayor Bill Deblasio.
Thank you very much, Chief, and I want to thank everybody who's here, every single person who was here to honor Deputy Chief Michael Fahy for all he did for all of us. And I want to take a moment to thank everyone who was part of putting together and constructing this beautiful memorial wall. It's really striking and moving, and this is something we have to do to remember the greatness of those who sacrificed for us. When we do that, when we put someone's name permanently into our history, it's not something that most New Yorkers ever assume would happen to them. It's something that has to be merited, to be etched in the history of this city and this department forever. We wish with all our hearts it was not through tragedy. But we know that in the case of Michael Fahy, we are remembering a man who was great in every way, who was exemplary, who was heroic, who is the kind of person we want future generations to remember and reflect upon and learn from. It's so important we do this for the family. It's so important we do this for all the brother and sister members of the FDNY, but we also do it for our community, for our city, to remember the greatness and those who walked among us and did things so extraordinary. I want to thank all of the leadership of the FDNY who are here today, Commissioner Nigro, First Deputy Commissioner Kavanaugh, Chief Leonard, all the leaders who have continued the extraordinary tradition of this department and continued to make it greater. I want to thank for their tremendous support of the FDNY Assemblymember Victor Pichardo and Councilmember Fernando Cabrera. Thank you. And those who represent the men and women of this department, I want to thank the union leadership present, Jake Lamonda, the president of UFOA, and Leroy McGinnis, vice president of the UFA. Thank you for being here. You know, the more I heard the stories of Michael Fahy's life, the more struck I was that he was truly a man who had everything, who had the brains, who had the skill, who had the leadership qualities. Someone who literally could have done anything. And for sure, someone who could have devoted his life to his own betterment. With that kind of talent, with those kind of brains, he could have said, I'm going to make millions and millions of dollars. No one would have been surprised. But inside him burned a desire to do something greater. And it's impressive in anyone. But when you think about someone who passes up fortune in the name of doing something for everyday people, including strangers he would never know the names of, that takes a particular strength, a particular conviction, a particular goodness. Back in 1999, Michael was a young lawyer. All the talent in the world, everyone could see it. And he reached a crossroads and he made a decision. And he wrote a letter back then, and he said, while I enjoyed the study of law, I feel that I need a career with a higher, more honorable purpose, and I would like to be a New York City firefighter. To everyone here, I think we would all agree Michael chose the career with the highest purpose, and he joined the finest department anywhere in the world. He knew what he believed in. And it is not a surprise that once he applied those extraordinary skills and that extraordinary conviction and that extraordinary heart to his work, he rose up in this department rapidly. Many have noted that had he stayed with us, had we had the blessing of his presence, there's a very good chance he would have been sitting in one of these chairs not so long from now. But indeed, we did lose him 2 years ago. I, like so many of us, watched his family in their hour of pain, and my respect for them grew with every passing moment. Because it's so difficult for a family going through this, and they're not only thrust into tragedy, they're thrust into the public eye. But this family showed us something truly special. Fiona, your strength, your dignity, your grace was exceptional. I know it was never easy, but God bless you for it. And Michael, I can see, I can imagine how proud your dad was of you and all the great things ahead for you. To Michael Sr.'s dad, retired Battalion Chief Thomas Fahy. He'll be speaking to us later. But thank you for all you have done for this city and this department and for the example you have set. To Michael's mom, Mary, thank you for bringing him up the right way and for the values you gave him, and to all the family members. You see the measure of family in the moment of tragedy, and this family is good and strong. They care deeply for each other, and they care for all those around them, and that's what each generation has passed to the next. To young Michael, I want to say something I hope you'll remember, and I reflected on this at the time of the tragedy and during the funeral, but I want to say it to you one more time and in another way, that you've probably, in just these last 2 years, felt a whole lot of complicated, difficult things, and you've missed your dad. But I imagine you've also had so many wonderful occasions to remember how good he was and to hear the stories of him from everyone who knew him. You know, it's a sad truth in the world. There's a lot of young men that never get to know their dad at all. And there's a lot of young men who sometimes have to wonder later in life what their dad left them. But I can tell you from my own personal experience, losing my dad way too young, and that he also served in uniform. When you know your dad's a hero, you will take that with you every day of your life. It will boost you, it will strengthen you, and even in a moment of doubt, you'll know that the blood coursing through your veins is the blood of a hero. So carry that with you as a strength. To everyone, the plaque we dedicate, the street we rename, should remind us, should inspire us. First, to always be there for this family. Second, to always be there for each other, to continue that great tradition of the FDNY, that extraordinary family. And third, to be there for a greater good. That is how Michael lived. Let's all try and live as best we can, the way Michael did and the way Michael would wish us to. God bless you all, God bless this family, and God bless the FDNY.
Thank you, Mayor Deblasio. Next, we will hear from our Fire Commissioner, Daniel Nigro.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Mayor, for those very kind words. At this very moment, 2 years ago today, we were all reeling from the death of such an extraordinary young man, a firefighter destined to lead others for years to come. Michael Fahy didn't just rise through the ranks, he soared. After 5 years on the job, he was a lieutenant. 3 years later, a captain, and only 5 years after that, he was promoted to battalion chief. In fact, in our 153-year history, Michael Fahy is the second fastest ever to reach that rank. That's an incredible achievement. He was a brilliant man, loaded with immense talent and ability. You all know he worked on Wall Street and was a lawyer as well, graduating with honors, easily passing the New York and New Jersey bar, and serving as editor of the Law Review while he attended New York Law School. But what brought him fulfillment was serving as a New York City firefighter. He loved helping others. He cared deeply for those he served with, his tight-knit firehouse family from his first days at Engine 35 and Ladder 14 in Harlem. And he cared deeply for those he led as well, especially here in this house. His mission every day was not only to protect New Yorkers, it was to protect those in his command. And 2 years ago today, that's exactly what he was doing, leading from the front, responding to a gas odor that would eventually become a horrific explosion. Chief Michael Fahy was ensuring the safety of every resident in the neighborhood and every firefighter in the battalion. In his final moments, he was doing what he loved. His decisions made sure no one else was seriously hurt. He put himself directly in harm's way so that others would be protected and saved. This plaque we dedicate this morning is an enduring symbol of Michael's incredible leadership and bravery. To Michael's family, Fiona, his incredibly strong wife, Tom and Mary, his wonderful parents, and most of all, Anna, Michael, and Cormac, his beautiful children. I know these 2 years have been painful, but I know you've also seen that this FDNY family will never leave your side. Your husband, your son, your father was a leader that all of us look up to, and his sacrifice will never be forgotten. May God bless Chief Michael Fahy and the entire Fahy family, and may God continue to bless the FDNY.
Thank you, Commissioner Nigro. Next, we'll hear from Chief of Department James Leonard.
Good morning to all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You grace us with your presence and honor us. To Fiona, Michael, Tom, the entire Fahy family, we're here to honor Mike, your husband, today. We have this tremendous turnout of everybody. We basically stopped the city to honor Michael today because there is no greater loss in this department than to lose one of our own in the line of duty, to make that supreme sacrifice. And there is no greater honor, and it's our sacred duty to perform this service today, to provide this plaque. To the members of Battalion 19, 7533, I want to thank you for what you've done through this entire ordeal. It's very, very difficult what you did. Yesterday we had a plaque dedication for Firefighter William Talley, and it is the hardest thing that anybody will ever do in this department with what we are doing today with the loss of one of our members. And it just shows the tremendous camaraderie, the tremendous sense of family that we have, that we get together today to honor the Fahy family and to honor the memory of Deputy Chief Michael Fahy. This memorial that is built is by far the most beautiful memorial I have seen anywhere in this city with this, but it's done for a purpose that we remember our people. And I see reading these plaques that Mike wasn't the first battalion chief killed in this battalion with this, and that's where we are today. And on that fateful day 2 years ago, Mike was doing what we all do. We all took that oath to protect life and property. When Mike left that firehouse this morning to go to that gas leak, he had no idea what his fate would be, but he was doing what he was sworn to do, to protect life and property. And he did that. We all know that numerous civilians were saved by Mike that morning. I saw it on TV with people saying that. We know he saved the lives of police officers. He saved the lives of Con Ed workers that day. And most of all, he saved the lives of his fellow New York City firefighters. And for that, he gave his life. He gave the ultimate sacrifice in the protection of life and property and to protect his members. He was a true leader, not only by his rank, but his force of character, that he was leading his troops that morning. He took command of that situation, and it cost him his life. And that is something we shall never, ever forget, and we will honor that for as long as there is an FDNY. And today, for this plaque, we have this plaque, and I challenge every member, wherever I work, that everybody knows the stories of those members on the plaque, who they were, what their family was. And when someday will come a time when there is nobody here that worked with Mike Fahy or whoever else is on that wall, but his life will live on because we will know the story of Deputy Chief Michael Fahy. I'm so impressed about who we have. So many retired members here. This is probably one of the most storied, busiest firehouses in the history of the FDNY. In a department of heroes, filled with heroes, 7533 and the 19th Battalion stand among the best who ever wore the uniforms of the New York City Firefighter. And it was Michael Fahy that was a battalion chief in this battalion, a hero amongst heroes that will ever be memorialized by this wall. So that is our duty now. This is our sacred pledge as we dedicate this plaque today. We make that pledge to all our members. We will never forget. Michael Fahy will live on in the history of this department for as long as there's an FDNY. And it's up to everybody here who comes through these doors to tell the story of Michael Fahy, how he lived and how he died and what he stood for. So in closing, God bless the FDNY and God bless the memory of Deputy Chief Michael Fahy.
Thank you, Chief Leonard. Next, we will hear from Jake Lamunda, President of the Uniform Fire Officers Association.
Good morning. On behalf of the UFOA Executive Board and our members, I would like to welcome Fiona, Michael, Cormac, Anna, family, friends, and members to the ceremony to honor Michael Fahy. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank the members of Engine 75, Ladder 33, Battalion 19, for all that you have done and in preparation for today. I'm honored and humbled to have the opportunity to say a few words at Michael's plaque dedication. Mike and I never worked together. Our careers never crossed paths. It would only be at the occasional function or perhaps union meeting that we'd exchange hellos and some small talk. I really didn't know Michael well, although I wish I had. Following the tragedy, we all gathered to support the family and to support one another, which is what we do. In the days following, speaking with Mike's friends and family, there were so many stories, all of which painted a portrait of an extraordinary individual, incredible husband, son, father, brother, friend, neighbor, and chief officer. As I was preparing my thoughts as what to say here today, one story kept coming to mind that exemplifies who Mike Fahy is. The story is about when Mike was a captain and he was covering a long-term UFO spot. It seems that one of the assigned officers left an entry in the pass-along book expressing his dissatisfaction regarding the performance of an officer who worked there on overtime, filling in for the tour. For our non-department members, a pass-along book is a method for the company officers to exchange information on a daily basis. I would like to read the entry the officer wrote. However, the entry is filled with expletives and adjectives not appropriate for today's ceremony. So you will all have to use your imagination a bit. The following is that entry's the following is the entry the officer made. Some expletive from expletive, adjective, expletive, worked here on May 8th, post coverage overtime, adjective, expletive. He put 0 runs in the book and left us with all the fire reports to complete without any expletive info to go by. Let him know he is an expletive next time you see him. And then the officer initialed the entry. So when Mike came into work, he read the entry, and he decided to make a few edits for the rest to read, crossing out some expletives and adjectives. Mike's edited version is as follows. Some brother from another house worked here on May 8th, post-coverage overtime. This tired and overworked individually accidentally forgot to put runs in the book and left us a few fire reports to complete without much information. Let him know he needs to be more conscientious next time when you see him. And that was Michael's entry. I must admit, I probably would have made a similar entry as the first officer did, probably worse. I think most of us would have. This simple story portrays so much about Mike. As I stated before, I did not know Mike well, although I wish I had, because I know there was something I could have learned from him. I believe this story encapsulates Mike Fahy, the person. Mike was referred to as a rising star in the department. He is a star that shined brighter than the rest. I believe Mike's brilliance was not just for his academics, but for all of his other qualities as a person. He had the ability to see things differently, the ability to affect those around him. He made all around him just better. Mike is a star that will never fade. His brilliance and his legacy will forever surround us. In fact, I see 3 brilliant and shining stars right now in Michael, Cormac, and Anna. The UFOA will present the plaque. If I could take a moment to read the plaque, it's a privilege to present this plaque on behalf of the Executive Board and our members to Fiona and her family. The plaque reads, in love and memory of Deputy Chief Michael J. Fahy, Battalion 19, May 9th, 1999, September 27th, 2016. An everlasting tribute, the ultimate act of service. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. We'll now hear from Deputy Chief Fahy's good friend, Battalion Chief James Dottie.
Good morning, everybody. Before I start, I just want to say how taken I was with the job that the members of the House did with the wall here and the turnout. It's days like today that I am so proud to be a member of the New York City Fire Department. And I know Mike is watching us, and he's nudging an angel right now, and he's saying, man, ain't they the greatest? All right, the 19th Battalion would like to thank everyone for being here today. I am honored to be able to say a few words about our friend Mike. I remember our first change of tours together after Mike was assigned to the battalion. He was so happy to be here, so energetic, so eager to please, so eager to do more than his share. I explained to him how the 19th Battalion was a well-oiled machine. We divide up the administrative work evenly in order to help Brian and keep things running smoothly. Mike couldn't wait to pitch in. He asked, "Who does the monthlies?" I told him, "I do February, Woods does the rest." He asked, "Who does the evaluations?" I said, "Woods." "How about the audits?" I go, "Nah, Woods does those too." He said, "Jim, what is your main responsibility here?" I said, "Coffee and morale." Mike asked if he could help. I said, "Jump right in." And jump right in he did. The next set, Mike walks through the door with a new Keurig coffee machine for the battalion office. I thought, man, this kid's a keeper. Although there was a rumor going around that there was a spare coffee machine in the basement of the Fahy household at the time that sort of disappeared. As for morale, Mike was like a shot of adrenaline. Everyone loved working with him. Smart, calm, informed, dedicated, conscientious. Mike had all the traits you'd want in a chief. Those under his command knew he was always there for them, always looking out for their safety. Mike loved being a New York City firefighter, and his joy was infectious. Mike and I used to have great conversations. We'd talk about everything. And after the first couple of sets, he actually started to get a few words in. And what he talked about was his family, his wife and children, how he had outkicked his coverage in landing his beautiful wife, and how together they had 3 gifts from God. He was always telling me how the kids were doing in school and sports, about the little outings they took. And then came that big trip to Hawaii, how he looked forward to that, and what a time it was. Mike was one of the kindest, most considerate people I ever met. He was always thinking of everyone else. Mike was a man of faith. He knew how blessed his life was, and he always talked about giving back, helping others. Today we honor Mike by placing a plaque on the wall of the firehouse. But let's also honor Mike by being a little bit more like him. Let us try to live a better life, to be kinder, more compassionate, more considerate of others, to be a better person, to make a difference in the world, and to embrace every day, because no one loved life as much as Mike did. There's an old saying, "Providence decrees and we obey." We'll never know why God would send one of his brightest lights down to us and take him away after such a short period of time. But those of us who were lucky enough to have known Mike will bask in the glow of warmth and love that emanated from that light for the rest of our lives. Thank you very much. God bless Mike, God bless his family, and God bless us all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy. Next, we're going to hear from the commanding officer of Engine 75, Captain Christopher Coppola.
Thank you all. Nice job, Chief. The best. Thank you to everyone for coming today. I wish I could stand here and tell you that the firehouse and this beautiful memorial looks the way it does due to the leadership of their fine captains. That truly has nothing to do with it. It actually has everything to do with the members of Engine 75, Ladder 33, and the 19th Battalion, their initiative and dedication to the job, to this place, and to each other. Group effort is a phrase a guy might say around here when something goes well, it comes out great. While this memorial was truly a group effort by the entire firehouse, there were certain members whose skill and vision made it all possible. I know they're not going to like me mentioning their names, but it's absolutely worth mentioning. Andy McKenzie, Chris Nazowitz, and Wayne Walters, they spearheaded this project. These guys, with the help of all the members in the firehouse, they worked tirelessly to ensure that this memorial came out a classy and fitting display to men who gave their lives to the Bronx and to the city as a whole. This memorial was built by the best. It was built for the best. In closing, I ask you, Mayor Deblasio, Councilman Cabrera, Assemblyman Pichardo, please pass on to the people of the city of New York and to the Bronx the dedication and commitment to excellence that resides behind the red doors of a Bronx firehouse. This memorial is but one example of that. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chris. Next, we'll hear from Deputy Chief Fahy's father, retired Battalion Chief Thomas Fahy.
I needed that. Okay. Wow, what a turnout. It's unbelievable. But you know what Mike Fahy would have said? He said, let's stop making all this fuss and let's get going. Come on. That was Mike. I thank everybody for attending today. It's a pleasure to have you here, members from his older companies and all the men he worked with. It's a grand tribute. You show your loving for Mike, your love for Mike, and respect for his family, and we thank you all. Thank you. I guess the greatest thing that happened to Mike was when he met the girl of his dreams, Fiona Brett. Mike was so happy. The two of them were always smiling when you saw them. It was apparent to everybody how in love they were together. They were a great couple, and they were blessed with 3 great kids. As a proud grandfather, I'm allowed to say that. So, I think Mike, as was said before, he loved being with his family. That was the most important thing. He used to go out to Long Island to visit his brother Tom at the beach, up to Nanuet for the swimming pool and birthday parties. He even went to see his sister Margaret, who was serving in the Army in Hawaii. It was a wonderful time for all of us, and I was so proud. I guess the next thing that happened to Mike, as was said, was when he graduated from law school and he got a pretty big job in a big law firm in Midtown Manhattan. Well, I was proud of him. We had a school teacher, we had a soldier, we had a Wall Street computer guy, and we had Mike, a new lawyer. Well, that only lasted less than a year because the fire department sent him a letter for the next Provy class, and Mike had a big decision to make. He had turned down, he was going to school and he postponed his list number twice. And if he was going to be a New York City fireman, this was his last chance. So I'm sure Mike thought about it. And he gave up the law and started on the fire department and started to learn what it was to be a New York City fireman. I think 9/11 had a big influence on Mike, like it did with all of us. He was working a rotation program in Brooklyn at the time, and like thousands of others, spent days and nights working down at the pit. He saw how hard the members worked trying to retrieve our lost brothers and return them to their families. Mike knew he had made the right choice in becoming a firefighter. I guess I'm losing track of what I'm saying here, but that's okay. I think after 9/11, after Mike had died, Fiona received a letter from a lady who knew Mike. She received a very nice letter, and there were several of them. And Mike had responded to a bad auto accident. She was a nurse on her way home from work. She was a mother of 3 kids. And she woke up dazed, covered in glass. She could smell the oil and the gas from the car. And who appeared at the window but a fireman? And he reached in and grabbed her shoulder and said, "Stay calm, we're going to get you out. We have the EMS on the way. The boys will be able to open the door and remove you." And sure enough, they did. And she said in the letter, "I have loved firemen ever since." Well, she often wondered who the fireman was, and after Mike died, she recognized his picture from the newspapers. Let me kind of finish by saying, when you remember Mike Fahy, think of him as a kind and caring man, a man who loved his family first and always. He loved being a New York City fireman, and he was proud to be a member of the FDNY. I thank everybody here today, especially the dais behind me. It's very impressive, and especially for the 19th Battalion, 75 and 33, who have become our second family. Thank you all.
Thank you, Chief Fahy. We will now commence with the dedication of the plaque.
And our plaque reads, "Dedicated to the memory of Deputy Chief Michael J. Fahy, Battalion 19, who made the supreme sacrifice while in the performance of duty, operating at Bronx Box 223732, September 27th, 2016. This plaque is already blessed by the supreme sacrifice of Deputy Chief Michael Fahy, and we remember that as we bless this plaque, which will be enshrined forever in this beautiful memorial with Michael's other brothers. And this memorial is already blessed by the awesome gift of all of our brothers for us in their line of duty deaths. And to all of you in Battalion 19, Engine 75, Hook and Ladder 33, whenever you respond to the calls from your houses, from this, your battalion house, know that every time you go forward, that Mike, with all of your brothers here, are always on the run with you. And may you all come safely back home to this neighborhood, to this house, and to all of us who love you and are grateful for the gift of your life in protecting the life and property of the people of New York City. And to this we all say, amen.
Everyone, please rise. Detail, and salute.
We will now be moving the ceremony outside of quarters. Everyone is welcome to join us for a special dedication. Please be directed by the ceremonial unit.
Company goes south on Walton.
There you go. Curb to curb. Stay in the street past the podium.
Deputy Chief Michael J. Fahy of Battalion 19, we will always remember, never forget you, your Fiona, Anna, Michael, Cormac, and all your family. We carry you in our heart and prayer, and we're deeply grateful for the immense gift of your life to each one of us. Amen.
I want to take this opportunity to thank Inspector Randall and all the officers of the force since recent support. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the mayor, fire commissioner, chief of the department, and the other members of the dais, I want to thank you for attending today's very special ceremony. Terrific showing of our brother, Deputy Chief Michael J. Fahy. Rest assured, none of us will ever forget. This concludes the Plaque dedication ceremony. Thank you again. I'd like to invite everyone to the Redwood Club, 2680 Scherz Avenue,